Jim has been at the forefront of trail advocacy and accomplishments at a statewide and national level for over 25 years. He formed the Concerned Off-Road Bicyclists Association to help solve trail user conflicts, to provide trail patrols, maintenance, and to help with land management. Jim has also been a founding member of the International Mountain Biking Association, IMBA. He has served at the state level on the former California Recreation and Trails Committee and currently serves on the California Roundtable on Recreation, Parks, and Tourism. Jim is also the immediate past president of the California Trails and Greenways Foundation and now is serving as a public member on the governing board of the Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority. So he goes from one group to another. I actually remember the first time I met Jim. It was the first conference I attended. I think it was 1989 at the Silomar. And I saw this guy everywhere. He had long hair at that time, wearing shorts and a Hawaiian shirt, which is pretty much his style. And I thought, who is this guy? And then I heard him speak with such passion and so articulate about trail sharing and land preservation. I later found out that he was a communications professor at Cal State Northwood, so that explains some of it. But over the years, many of you have heard Jim speak and inspire the trail community. His message still remains to work collaboratively with other trail users and land managers for the benefit of all. I present to you Mr. Jim Hasenauer.
I'm very, very appreciative of this honor. A couple of the previous Lifetime Award winners have stood up. There's many more people whose names those of us who have been around for a long time know, and many of them are no longer with us. But these are really like the giants of the California trail community, and I'm deeply honored. Anything that I accomplished, I did with other people, and I want to acknowledge these people with great talent and passion. The people I worked with on the CRTC, the people I worked with on the Trails and Greenways Foundation, on the California Roundtable on Recreation, Parks, and Tourism, on the Conference Planning Committee, which I worked on for a number of years, and my most recent gig with the MRCA. I was glad to see such an MRCA presence here. These are people who care deeply about parks, open space, visitors to parks, and I'm just proud to have played a part there. And I'm especially grateful to the mountain bike community, to my IMBA colleagues who are scattered around the room here and in fact all around the world. I came to the Trails community in 1987 as a mountain bike advocate. And frankly, an embarrassment is we were not welcome. We kind of huddled together in a corner. People talked about us. It was really very, very unfriendly for a long time. And it's such a tribute to the mountain bike advocates whose persistence, whose commitment, whose ability to focus on working together in collaboration and not get distracted by things that were obstacles that were standing in our way. It made such a difference. And now, as you saw in this awards program, so many of those programs were spearheaded or partnerships with mountain bike organizations at local levels. It's one of the great prides of my life that I had something to do with that movement. I once wrote an academic paper that talked about the evolution of the mountain bike community into the trails community. It was called Stranger to Stakeholder to Partner. And it kind of documented the transition from when we were perceived as strangers, the other, weird, potentially dangerous, to be feared, certainly misunderstood. And then stakeholder, where we became legitimate players in the decision-making that was happening on our public lands. And we were recognized as really having a right to be there, even though people didn't always like what we had to say. And then finally, partners, where with other trail groups, with the equestrians, with the hikers, with the birders, with the kayakers, and with the land management agencies, we really took on some rights and responsibilities to work together on joint projects like the Children's Outdoor Bill of rights and getting kids into the outdoors. And that transition is something that I think is almost at its far end. It's really something. We've come really a long way. In 1988, California closed most of its single-track trails to mountain bikers, and it was probably the best thing that happened to our movement because we organized and started working together, and we've been together ever since. But in 2005, we were part of the public planning for a new trails policy, and that new trails policy did away with the 1988 plan. And that new trails policy expressed a preference for multiple use trails, and that was a gigantic win for us. We thought that was just terrific. And then most recently in 2012, the completion of the Programmatic Environmental Impact Report for change of use, that was a great victory. And you saw the award up there on the screen tonight. If you haven't looked at the PEIR, it is the best collection of trail user impacts, hiker impacts, equestrian impacts, bicycle impacts on trails. And it more or less concludes that most trails can accommodate shared use using one of kind of several mitigations that are identified in the document. And one of the very best parts of the document was produced by Alta Designs, and that's an appendix on user conflict. And that is absolutely the best, most up-to-date state of the practice of looking at user conflict in our trail community. And what it concluded is that while everybody is concerned about user conflict, and there's a perception that user conflict is a really big issue, when you actually get out on the trails, the feeling of user conflict is very rare, and incidents of user conflict are rarer still. That should be on everybody's bookshelf, and it was there in the PEIR. So it really seems like we're making a great deal of progress, and we should be proud, but there's a lot of work to really be done. There's a long way to go. Most of those trails that were closed in 1988 to bicycles are still closed to bicycles, and we're working really hard to try to establish more mountain bike opportunities in California state parks. Bicyclists really deserve equity, diversity, and connectivity, just like other trail users. Equity in terms of the number of trail miles that are available to us, diversity in terms of having a range of trail opportunities from easy to difficult, just like climbers, just like bikers, just like equestrians, and connectivity to get from one trail system to another. That's really good planning, and it's really our goal. So I accept this award with gratitude. I only balk at the lifetime part of it. I've only been doing this 27 years. All right, so I'm going to call it my halftime achievement award. And I hope to see you at the meetings and on the trails. Thank you very much.